Gotta adjust my camera. Where are we at over here? Where are we at? Where are we at? Hey, hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. I'm Steve Shaw. Move my camera, bump my camera, something. Where are we at? I don't know. There I'm at. I don't know why it's there we go. Let's get my head more in the frame. Welcome to Massive Iron Live, guys. April Fools. No April Fool's jokes for you today. Just big, hairy, and ugly stuff going on. Hope you guys are having a good week. I had a busy week. Before we get rolling, a few notes. I'm here every Friday at 11 Eastern, so please tune in. Closing in on 100,000 subscribers. I just want to thank you guys for your continued support. Excuse me. Looks like I might even hit that by my birthday. So, post up your questions. I'll stay on as long as you guys have questions. If I don't see your question, head over to Instagram. I got the thing down below scrolling around. Slide into my DM, post your questions. I'll get to them. If not during the live video, but I will get to them on the weekends. Sometimes YouTube does not take questions. They disappear. It's not me ignoring you. And before we start, head over to superlivingtoday.com. Check out the coaching. Only $80 a month. Check out the coaching tab. $80 a month. It's not some bullshit check-in once a week cookie cutter nonsense. Coaching is what I do for a living. And I've had over 1,000 clients over the last, many years. And I'm with you every single day. Everything we do is custom. Everything we do is built for you. Workouts, nutrition. I'm there on a daily basis providing form help. You can submit form videos every single day, looking at your nutrition, looking at your weight, making sure you're not doing a fat bulk, looking at your workouts. I'm there. Unlimited communication. So check that out. If you need a workout, check out my website, superlivingtoday.com. Check out the workout tab. Tons of workout options. I can also build you a custom workout as well. And one more commercial. Check out Team Massive. It is currently a one-time fee to enter. It's a troll-free environment. It's like mini coaching. You can send me form videos on a weekly basis. It's for those of you that don't have the money to commit to full-time coaching. Let me just mute a few tabs here. All right. So I'm going to give away a t-shirt to anybody that posted a question before 11 a.m. I'll do that just shortly. So hold on. I was in Miami this week. It took a long drive. Boy, the traffic driving in through Atlanta and Florida was just nasty. It sucks your soul, sucks the life out of your soul. And then on the way back, we woke up in Sebring. We stayed in Sebring, Florida, before traveling home. Our computer started going crazy. Electronics on our rental car. It was like trying to dial my phone and then changing the temperatures and changing the seat controls and changing the heat. So we had a nightmare there. We had to do some crazy wizardry in the middle of nowhere with our rental car. So I apologize for not making videos this week. I apologize to my clients for being a little bit slow on messages. I'm almost caught up. All right, let's dive in, guys. Post up your questions. If you're new here, post your questions. There's no dumb questions. There's no stupid questions. Just awkward questions, weird questions, and bizarre questions. All right, Stein is in first. So I put up the poll today for you guys to decide. Is Stein real or is it me just trolling you? Go ahead and vote on that. Stein in like a boss. He said I had to be first one more time. And James is second. Rico, best live on the tube. Thank you, Rico. I'm trying my best. Thanks, Rico. So before we move forward, let me just do some random pickage of those who got in. Let's see. Nicholas Ingrata. I'm going to give you a t-shirt today, Nicholas. So hit me up on Instagram @BenTheBarman. You can see that scrolling down below. Nicholas, hit me up, and I will, with your information, shirt size, etc. I'll send you a free Massive Iron T-shirt. I'm just going to pick these randomly. I ship them anywhere anywhere in the world, not the United States. So, what else we got? All right, we got. Where are we? Sorry, lost track. Amanda P. On dumbbell overhead press, left side moves slower, getting weight up and feels tight. Suggestions. If you're doing 2 arms at a time, that's pretty normal. I mean, if you're doing double overhead press, that's pretty normal. One side usually is weaker than the other. And for most individuals, it's going to be your left side. So that's not unusual at all. As long as you can continue to get both dumbbells into position without an issue, muy bien. That's great. I get this question a lot, and I always base progression on unilateral type of movements, or movements where the left arm or right arm feels weaker than the left. I always base progression on what the weaker arm does. So if your left arm is weaker rep-wise per set than your right, I stop a set when the left arm wants to fail, and then I try to progress based on the left arm. I've tried everything else. You guys can try other methods if you want. None of them really work. After 37 years, my left side is still a couple reps weaker than my right side, so I still base progression on my weaker side. If you get to the point where you can't get a dumbbell up, or you can't get both of them up at the same time, then it is time to switch to single arm standing dumbbell overhead presses. It's much easier from a standing position to get the dumbbell into place and to press it. It's much easier to do a single arm overhead press than a double arm overhead press from the standing position. No, excuse me. I lost my train of thought. It's easier to do a single arm press from the standing position rather than the seated position. If you try to do a single arm press from the seated position, it's possible that it'll likely feel super awkward. All right, Brent, can you lift every other day for gains, or should you go 3 on and 1 off? When I am at training my hardest, 2 days on in a row is about my maximum. I find when it comes to running, or when it comes to lifting, after about 2 days in a row, I find I feel a little bit sluggish. I feel a little bit tired, and I need a little bit rest. Honestly, in a perfect world, I think as a general statement, 2 days on, 1 day off is a good approach, probably the maximum approach. But if you can handle 3 days on, 1 day off, that's fine, as long as it makes sense for your program. Every other day is fine. Generally, 3.5 to 4 days a week is probably going to be optimal for hypertrophy, but don't panic if you're doing less than that. Don't panic if you're only doing 3, because the difference between optimal and a little bit less than optimal is not a big gulf. It's not a big gap. It's a small gap. As long as you're training hard, you're going to be fine. So 3 days a week is great. Every other day or 4 days a week is better. And beyond that, it just has to make sense for your program, if that makes sense. Stein M, how to make sure you are building muscle by subscribing to the Massive Iron channel, listening to everything he says, and just having faith. If you are doing the basics, if you have the pillars in place, you have a progressive overload plan, you are executing that plan 90% of the time, 90% of your sets. You have a workout with a reasonable amount of quality volume, meaning you're pushing at least one set per exercise hard for AMRAP and progressing when you should. If you are consistent with your nutrition to the point where you're gaining 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a month, and you have a reasonable exercise selection, meaning in the mix there are some compounds, dumbbells, barbells, a few machines here and there, and maybe an isolation or two, then you can be assured you are building muscle over time. What you need to do is just have faith, keep it up for 2 to 3 years, take measurements of your arms flex, legs flex, and whatever else you want to flex, and track those over time. Track your weight. Be very meticulous about your nutrition, about tracking your arm and leg size, about tracking your weight, and you will start to see results in the mirror. I would also take a progress photo every week, and like what you added, Stein, tracking weight gain, strength. Yep, track everything. It doesn't take that much time, so make sure you're tracking everything. Mickey C, on deficit and practicing long run now. My body cannot recover from workouts in the last 2 weeks. How should I evolve my workout for better recovery? If you're in a deficit and you don't feel you're recovering, know this, that it's very hard to lose muscle in a deficit unless you are dramatically changing your programming, meaning you're not, you decided to randomly drop weight 40% from every exercise, or you're only training once a week. In a deficit, it's going to be hard to lose muscle. So if we're having a recovery issue, what I would probably do is drop one exercise per set. I would probably stop pushing for PRs if it's a short cut. Understand, if it's a short cut, a mini cut, something that's not over 4 weeks. I would maybe drop the volume down to 2 sets per exercise. And beyond that, there's going to be a little sit-fu, suck it the bleep up. If you're not recovering, that you can't stop lifting. You can minimize your work in the gym a little bit to aid with recovery. Some of that could be general lack of work capacity. So it might be just something you need to hold steady on, suck it up, and just do what you can do. You do not want to pick up aches and strains and pains as a result of pushing. So just be very mindful of that. Nicholas, how to program medium, low, and high reps. I don't really worry about that, Nicholas. That's usually the reps. How do I program reps? I program reps basically on how they feel for that lift. So, for example, pec deck, 3 rep sets doesn't make sense, right? Isolation exercises are going to be tougher to progress on. Exercises that have a narrow progression window, meaning there's not a lot you're going to progress over time, like side lateral raises. You're not really going to get your side lateral raises. Not really going to get your side lateral raises, up to like 70s, unless you're doing some ridiculous cheaty thing, right? So they have a narrow progression window. So therefore, on exercises like that, you want to keep the reps a little bit higher, probably over 10, maybe 12, up to 15 if you can tolerate it. It's going to be a little bit easier to progress, not easy, but easier to progress on those types of exercises when the reps are higher per set. And from there, really, everything is based on the exercise. Barbell rows, for example, I don't really like anything over 6 to 8 reps. That's me personally. Whereas dumbbell bench and dumbbell rows, I like higher reps. So just use that first and foremost, your personal preference. As long as you have a progression approach, you're fine. Beyond that, you really don't need to overthink it. There is some value in having medium, having a variety of rep ranges, but I usually allow the exercise selection to take care of that. So I might do my big hitting compounds first, my bench, my deadlifts, my squats for anywhere from 5 to 8 reps. And obviously I do different programs other than that, but that's a good place to start. And then add in your more moderate compounds, dumbbell bench, maybe machines. You can increase the reps on those to 8 to 10 to 12, and then your isolations. MG254, would you ever do what's in your gym bag video? Yeah, I've thought about doing that lately, like what actually is worth having in your gym bag, like if you're a serious lifter. And for me, that would be wrist wraps. And I've had Ken Anderson wrist wraps forever. I have no affiliation with Anderson powerlifting, but they've just lasted forever. I like them much better than I like Mark Bell's wrist wraps. I love Mark Bell's slingshot, but I hate his wrist wraps because the Velcro goes over a part of the wrap that's not Velcro when you wind it around, and it's constantly pulling part of the wrist wrap up. So I like Anderson wrist wraps. I like the Mark Bell slingshot. I think both of those are must-haves. Versa grips in your gym bag. What else do you need? Maybe some micro plates, some magnetic plates in case you want to add a little bit of weight to your to an exercise and you're in a commercial gym. Lately, with all the gyms that are pussified that don't have, dumbbells over 70s and 80s or even 100s, there is a dumbbell handle on Titan Fitness that is, I don't know, 20, 24 inches that you can put Olympic plates on. That's good for rows. And more, I've been, advocating getting one of those suckers for your gym bag so you can do some heavy-ass dumbbell rows and you're not, held back by the pussification of your gym. And I know it costs a lot for, gyms that have dumbbells that heavy when not many people are ever going to use them. So I get it. But if you're a serious lifter, that's something to consider. A massive iron logbook you can get at superlivingtoday.com. Don't just log your workouts, log your workouts in style. How's that for a commercial? But I like to log things on a notebook or on the Strong Workout Tracker, whichever you prefer. Doesn't really matter. And I'm trying to think, what beyond that is really a gym bag requirement. I'm sure I'm missing out on a couple things. So you guys can let me know. If your gym doesn't have an ab wheel, you can keep an ab wheel in your gym bag, that sort of thing. Rafael de Souza, hey, I'm right here before it started. Welcome to the live, Rafael. Stein, is it normal when dieting you start looking a little worse? Yeah, you're going to be a little flat, a little glycogen depleted, and some of it's mental. When you have more carbs in your system and you have more sodium and electrolytes and stuff, you're naturally going to feel a little bit more fuller and beefier and sexier, So absolutely. Raphael, best hour of the week. Thank you. I appreciate it. Dungeons and Dumbbells, please head over to his channel and follow his channel. He is on Team Massive and up in Montreal. Support your Canadians. Made it just in time. And that awesome Dumbbell and Dragons logo. Hit the like buttons. Let's trend. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. KM says, looking as handsome as ever. Yep, survived the sun. In Miami, we don't get a lot of that here in Ohio. I had to block out the sun in these windows so I didn't trigger anybody. I'm going to be moving this office around and trying to get some professional lighting in here so things don't look like the dungeon. But it is what it is, right? This is Massive Arm. We don't need to look pretty or glamorous. We don't need to have bells and whistles and toys. That's just talk lifting, right? 3 Days Grace. How's it going, 3 Days Grace? And Stein says, join Team Massive, folks. I appreciate it, Stein. 3 Days Grace. Favorite squat accessories. Now, I'm going to reference my video yesterday about strength and size, the parallel between strength and size. I've been on this bandwagon forever, and I've been fortunate enough in most cases to be preaching things to you guys where the science later catches up. I've been basically out in the real world telling you what I see, and luckily enough, I haven't been insane enough to inject my personal dogma into things. I've been trying to shoot you guys straight over the years with what I see. So I've always preached size for strength. And as far as squat, you want size. You want other exercises that are going to build up your quad size so you have a better quad strength base. I'm a big fan of hack squats, pendulum squats, leverage squats, leg presses, leg extensions, whatever you need. I like a battery of quad exercises, not just for the squat, but for the deadlift as well. And then you also have hips and glutes and things like that. Maybe some stuff, some hip hinge stuff, some stuff that works on your hips and glutes a little bit. And beyond that, the lower back is usually the weak point in squats. So make sure you get your squat form down. Work on that relentlessly so you can take pressure off your lower back and do your very, very best to stay healthy with the squat. Be patient. All right, Marty Delaverin. Did I get your name right? Hello. Thanks for joining. Cam, what's usual deficit between competition lifts and gym best? What's the usual deficit between competition lifts and gym best? I don't know, man. I mean, I've seen a lot of weird things over the years. A competition is really, a learning experience. You can go in and you can crush squats and ride this high, right? And you got all this adrenaline and things are going well and you crush your squats. I've seen at competitions a lot of times guys go in and crush their squats and then miss their bench opener or miss their second lift on bench, overshoot their bench, kind of a letdown. So, I know that's not directly answering your question, but the point is that a competition's more of an art form. It's more of it's more nuanced, so I don't see much of a difference between competition and gym lifting if you look at relative 1-rep max, unless you're talking about bench. On a deadlift, you can be a little bit ganky in competition as long as you're not doing a hip hinge and you're going to pass. You can have a cat back deadlift. They're going to bonk you for that, right? Squat, you can fold like a lawn chair as long as you stand up. Your squat's going to pass. On bench, though, the things that we tend to mess up on bench, like not pausing at the bottom or bouncing, sinking the bar into our chest, a lot of stuff like that. Benching more than anything in a competition is far more challenging because your head really needs to be out of your rectum, if that makes sense. Dev Dog, why aren't you fond of 531? I'm really fond of my programs more than anything, but it's not that I'm not fond of 531. Back in the day when 531 came out and everybody was arbitrarily deloading every fourth week, I was not fond of that. Okay. And 531 is just a skeleton. It's a periodization approach, and there's nothing wrong with a periodization approach for the big lifts. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Most people don't need a fourth week of deloading. That's a little bit arbitrary. I know in some cases, if you're an intermediate and you're pretty strong, there is a case to be made for taking every fourth week a little bit lighter. But honestly, the majority of people that ran 531 did not need to take a fourth week or a deload week. And, it's just a skeleton, like where starting strength and strong lifts gave you a specific lifts per day. 531, you could basically do whatever you wanted. So therefore, there's a lot of room to mess it up, right? So it's not a bad program. I'm just not a fan. I was not a fan of certain things of the 531 when it came out. And there are some personal things going on. I know the guy that edited the program. He's no longer with us. Basically, I know the guy that wrote the program. And that's not to say Wendler didn't write it. Wendler gave the bones to this individual. And there's some personal stuff I really don't wish to repeat, in public. But the individual that wrote it, is no longer with us. And from my understanding of what he told me, and this is hearsay, he didn't get a lot of money for it, So I don't know. It is what it is. Maybe the individual's passed away, so I'll leave it at that. Olympic grade lurker. No, I want a free shirt. Well, try again next week. Come on back next week and post. I'm going to do this every week. If you post a question before we start. And you know what, Olympic grade lurker, I'm going to be generous. If you hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman, I'll send you a shirt. 3 days grace. My ankles pop while walking. It doesn't pain, but still an insecurity of mine. Any advice? Don't worry about it. Really, there's nothing I can really add. Every time I do a deep knee bend, I was, a catcher for a long, long time. My knees pop. It pops on every squat rep. Is it a medical issue? Well, not really. I mean, it's been doing that for 45 years, so obviously it's nothing serious. Neo from Minnesota. How's it going, Neo? Ready for summer? I'm sure you are. Adif, I'm a running back. I'm strong, but I'm pretty small at 5'11", 190. Should I do a dedicated off-season bulk for 6 months just to be bigger? I would do a controlled bulk where you are on a good program that has a quality selection of exercises and a good quality selection of dumbbell, barbell, and then some machine exercises to top it off, and try to gain about 2 pounds a month. That'll put you at 12 pounds, put you right around 200 to 202. And from there, I would reassess and just kind of stabilize for a while. KJL 94, decide to give coaching a try. I can already tell you truly care about your clients. I do more than you think, and it's not a commercial. This week, for the first time in my coaching career, I had 2 days off in the middle of the week. And, that's unusual for me, because I'm usually message my clients every day. And when I don't, some of them are worried that something's wrong with me, so I do care. I'm going to give everything I can out of every workout, of every post. It's not like I'm going to write a book about every workout you do, but I look at everything and I try to read everything. And, I just want to get everybody where they want to go. Nicholas, thanks. Thanks for the shirt, but you didn't answer my question. I didn't get your question, did I? Or I already answered your question. Yep, I already got your question. Sorry, your question was later in the queue, so I was just coming back. I came back to it, Nicholas. Giuseppe, recently I have a strained rotator cuff injury. You think I can continue shoulder exercises to strengthen it, or just rest a few weeks? Well, I would like to do some feeler work when you have if it's not a major injury. I like to go in and do some feeler work. What I mean by that is not necessarily heavy. Do some like a warm up on the overhead presses, warm ups on your other exercises. Just feel it out, keep it moving, see if that aggravates it, makes it worse, or is tolerable, and kind of go from there. Dev Dog 712, can you give a shout out to my boy Henry and tell him to have a great weekend? Henry, have a great weekend. No drinking for you, Henry. No drinking this weekend. No pot, no medicinal marijuana, no cocaine, no meth. You're going to have a no FAP weekend. You're going to have no sex weekend. All you're going to do is eat clean, train mean, Henry. Eat clean and train mean. That's all you're going to do this weekend. No messing around. No screwing around. No cocaine. No hookers. No sex. No pizza. No television. We're just going to train clean and mean. Have a good weekend. John Johnson, is squat, bench, deadlift, overhead, and bent over row all you need? No, absolutely not. I'm absolutely 100% against minimal style training. What we understand about hypertrophy is that exercise variety is a good thing. Limiting yourself to barbell only, why would you do that? Unless that's all you have currently as an equipment, then make do. But if you have a barbell, there are other exercise variations you can do. Landmine overhead press, Meadows rows for your back, inverted rows for your back, all kinds of things. So all you need, no, definitely not all you need. That is a mindset when it comes to hypertrophy that I hope dies, and dies in a deep, deep, dark grave. Richard Murray. Hey, folks, have a great weekend. You too, Richard. Missing Scotland. Wish we could come back. 1010 Buns. Is rice and chicken or beef ideal for weight loss? Is all rice created equal? If not, what's the best rice? Ideal for weight loss? Well, it's a good start. I mean, anytime you have nutrient-rich food, that's a good basis for your cut. Beef, when you're in a cut, there's nothing wrong with beef, but it tends to be higher fat. So during a cut, I would look for leaner cuts of beef, or I would also look for ground turkey. If you go to Force of Nature Meats, and I have a link below in most of my videos, because that's what I use, they have things like wild boar, things like elk, things that taste good, that are lower calorie, that I like to eat. I eat a lot of mince when I'm cutting because it's easy to cook. So that's good. And white rice, not necessarily against it. I like to get black rice as well. Black rice has a different nutrient profile, and I find that white rice and black rice work well together. Black rice has a little bit more fiber. The taste is the same, but basically, I don't like the taste of quinoa. Is okay, right? But quinoa just doesn't have that body. It's not filling to me. So I like to combine white rice and black rice. And what you want to do is, whenever you have rice, try to throw in 2 plant-based options just to expand your nutrient profile a little bit. What can they be? Anything. On a cut, maybe sliced cherry tomatoes, maybe mushrooms, something with some micronutrients. Doesn't really matter. A little bit of spinach, wilted spinach, onions, peppers, whatever. Throw in just a little bit of food volume in there, or a lot if you want it. That'll expand your food volume. That'll expand your nutrient profile. It'll improve satiety. You'll feel fuller because you have more food volume. So that's a really, really good way to go. Chicken, I like things like steelhead trout, which is kind of the poor man's salmon, a little bit less expensive. You can basically do anything. Shrimp is great. Shrimp, you can get a lot of protein and lower calories. Ground turkey is great. Things like that. So check out your food aisle. Bison is leaner. I know you're not all rich, and I'm not rich. We're not all wealthy, but if you can get bison once a week, and again, check out Force of Nature Meats, link down below. That is the only affiliation I have at all, because that's what I eat, and I love their food. Their bisons are great. Their wild boar is great. I love their food. I love their minces, and they all taste great. And they're all great for a cut or a bulk. Good nutrient density. Neo, I saw a Mountain Dog video where he recommends training rear delts. Rear delts are kind of like, I have nothing against training rear delts, but I want you to get your rows in gear first. Get your rows in gear. Once you got your rows in gear, then you can start adding rear delt work. Brian Fish 007. Ideas for a hypertrophy specialization program for a body part while in a cut. Well, I wouldn't really do a specialization program on a cut. I think that's completely counterproductive. I think during a cut, it's okay, obviously, to push for progressive overload, especially if you're within your first 2 years of serious lifting, and if it's going to be an extended cut. But I'm just being honest with you. I'm absolutely against doing a specialization program during a cut. It's completely counterintuitive. Vinny P, happy Friday. How's it going, Vinny? Hope you're feeling well. Can't wait for the madness to end. Much love from Tejas. Vinny P, I'm going to give you the heads up. We are planning to come to Tejas in November this year. We're going to go to Texas, and then we're going to take my wife around to see the West. So we're going to do it slow and low so I don't lose contact with my clients. I'm going to get up at 6, do 4 hours of client work, get on the road, see the West. So Vinny P, look for the Texas invasion this November. Mickey Chan, why is it that not many people doing full body workouts are higher level of bodybuilding? Very good question. because it can, once you start to build strength, your warm-ups are going to take longer. You have to be more meticulous about your warm-ups. And if you're doing a lot of 3 days a week of training, okay, number one, you have to look at training in its totality, weekly volume. So if you are a lifter that is pretty experienced, you have pretty good muscle mass, and you have pretty good strength, condensing things into 3 training days and then adding expanded workout warm-up times, it's just going to be a real pain in the ass, to be honest with you. That's what I find. Olympic grade lurker. Wow, most of that's exactly what's in my bag. Then you, my man or woman, not sure what you are. Sorry, I forget. I forget because even my clients tell me their names on here, and I forget who's who. I forget who's who because honestly, just forgive me. I get so many monikers and handles and things on YouTube and Instagram and everywhere that it's a crazy world. Sometimes I get my wires crossed, so forgive me. Troy S. Hey, boss, happy Friday. Glad you're home in one piece. Thank you. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's been a long time since I drove to Florida, and my goodness, the traffic going through Atlanta and Florida, I think I could have ran faster to Miami. Can we train in blocks concentrating on a muscle group for hypertrophy? There's nothing wrong with doing rotating specialization programs once you're in a groove with your muscle building. So you could have a 3 or 4 week block where you specialize on chest, doing a little bit more volume on chest, and then rotate different things. Absolutely. GB, what's your view on icing when not an acute injury? Does icing reduce hypertrophy? No, it would not reduce hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is a far more complicated mechanism or process, so it would not reduce hypertrophy. If you have if you have a need to ice, like unusual inflammation or pain or whatever, then do so. Consult somebody that knows something about it. This is not my lane, not my area of expertise, so I don't want to speak out of my arse, if that makes sense. Rafael de Souza. Can we train in blocks? Oh, we already got that. Yes, sir. Answer that. Sorry. Knoxville. Did I get that right? It's kind of like Knoxville if you live in Knoxville. Hey, most people saying workouts should not be longer than 1 hour. Does that include warm-up? Ignore most people. Most people are weak and small. But generally for my clients, I like to get them out in under 70 minutes, not because there's anything magical about that, but because I don't like my clients being forced to live in the gym. I will say this. You should make it a goal to get your work done in 70 to 75 minutes max. If not, you might need to tighten your shot group a little bit, tighten rest in between sets a little bit, tighten the sloppiness. And for me, my warm-ups are warm-up sets. So that includes my warm-up sets. If you're doing any other random things, like foam rolling or Pilates or jumping jacks or knees to toes guy or extreme stretching or whatever your stuff is, that it would not include that. You're all shook up. For someone who works 60 hours a week, should we do minimalistic training? Well, minimalistic training to me is only using a few exercises, not a broad approach, and using this very restrictive set and rep schemes, which make no sense. What I would do is more of a conventional program, and really I would drop sets to 2 hard sets per exercise per workout. Drop the volume a little bit, but make sure you keep the intensity, if that makes sense. So you could basically take any one of my programs, chop off one of the sets per exercise, and that probably would be a little bit more well-rounded and better. Should you do disc to compounds? I would try to keep the exercise variety in there, to be honest. So I think that's the best way. I think it's the best way overall, and that's debatable. There's probably many ways, but I think it's a solid way, not the best way. Knoxville, my bench and deadlift solid, but squat is just pathetic. Is it worth it to do legs twice a week? You could. There are some more specialization programs I have for squats. Probably wouldn't hurt. You want to make sure you're recovering, though. That's first and foremost. So you want to make sure your form is good. A lot of times it could be your form driving poor performance. So if you want, join Team Massive, linky, or head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, slide into my DM, and I'd be happy to look at your squat form. John Johnson, thank you. Do you work your neck? No. I don't really know a lot of experienced lifters that work their neck. It's more, I'm just being honest, I'm not being critical. It's more something outside of the martial arts world. It's more something smaller lifters tend to be, infatuated with, like direct forearm work or direct neck work. Really, neck work and forearm work, your neck and your forearm are going to grow naturally as you grow the rest of your body. So in my opinion, I'd rather put that time into the gym into something else. Hey, big ugly dude, I deadlifted once on Monday and one on Friday. Monday I do more volume than Friday. Should I switch one day out for RDLs? I'm not a big fan in general. This is not a rule, but it is a generalization of deadlifting more than once a week. I think for the average individual, deadlifting off the floor every other week is good, and then putting in a variation in that odd week is good for the average individual until you get your lower back up to speed and strong and your deadlift form good. Once your deadlift form has the Pope's blessing, then you could maybe do a specialization program where you deadlift more than once a week. But I would probably not floor deadlift more than once a week. Josh, higher carbs versus higher fats on a cut. Well, Josh, I would say this. It's not so much higher fats as it would be swapping carbs for proteins, or maybe adding a little fats in as well. So carbs are generally the only thing that's non-essential and the easiest to drop or lower during a cut. So you want to keep your protein reasonable, and you want to keep your fat up there just for your organ health and skin health and brain health and that sort of thing. So I would start pulling carbs, and I would try to remove the junk carbs first. Tendon pain. Do supplements help? I am not aware. That's outside of my league, but I'm curious where you experience the pain. So if you could let me know what type of what the location is, and I will see. I want to check if it's some form of tendonitis rather than just general tendon pain. Yari, is our EAA is worth it? I don't know, man. I mean, is any of this stuff worth it? BCAs, EAAs. I've watched the debates over the years. Honestly, I wouldn't waste my money on either of those products. I just get a good protein. I wouldn't even touch them if I were you, unless you're doing some fasting, and then you'll get into the discussion. Well, I'm going to break the fast. Well, there's other reasons to do fasting other than just trying to be religious about your intermittent fasting. You might want to be reducing calories during the day, saving them for later because it's easier to lose weight. If you want to encourage muscle retention, it might not be a bad idea to do EAAs or BCAAs in that underfeeding window. But do your research and don't quote me, because that's not something I really, really stay up to date on. Christos, common areas to lose size from a mini cut if done correctly. Well, mostly, Christos, men tend to have visceral fat, like internal fat, and tend to have gut fat and man boob fat and what I say, back fat, man boob fat, gut fat, visceral fat, and your love handles. That's usually where you tend to notice things the most. That's where men tend to store most of their fat. In Kane, when you were talking about the gym bag necessities, you recommend the same for a beginner. If you're serious, if you're serious about the long run, having those tools in your gym bag, yes. The most common injury I see as a coach is elbow tendonitis, other than lower back injuries, from squats and deadlifts. And by using VersaGrips, yeah, they're $60 or whatever, but they will go a long way to help you reduce your elbow tendonitis or reduce the likelihood of elbow tendonitis. Generally, yes, absolutely, because you're going to work into them. 10-10 buns, you sound them off when you're done, homie. You sound them off when you're done, homie. I'm not sure what that means. What did I miss? All right, Breno. Do you feel that certain body parts can receive more volume? Absolutely. There was actually a study I was looking at, or a post I was looking at by Menno Henselman this morning, where he talks about triceps and the research triceps can take more of a beating. I've always preached that because it's been my personal experience. My personal experience is that back can take more of a beating, triceps can take more of a beating. So those are two muscle groups I've always unbalanced a little bit. You can add a little bit more triceps volume in. And it's interesting that it's always a good day when science aligns with your with the things you see in the gym. You're all shook up. Thanks. You bet. Thank you for joining in. Come back next week. Mickey Chan, how do you decide which exercise need more warm-up sets or which exercise needs no warm-up sets? Mickey, some of it has to do with the food chain, which exercises are first. And a lot of it has to do with the amount of weight you're going to be using. So if you have a more moderate machine isolation exercise, I generally just do one moderate light warm-up set for 5 to 6 reps to get a feel for the exercise. What do I mean by a feel? Okay, so I did my bench and I did my dumbbell bench and I did a plate-loaded chest press and I'm pretty warmed up and I'm pretty spectacular, right? And my tricepticons are warmed up and my chesticles are hanging like swollen fruit and all that happy horse shit, right? So why would you do a warm-up set on pec deck or cable crossovers or dumbbell flies or even dips? To get the feel for the exercise. Number one, to mentally connect. And number two, to make sure nothing in specific in that exercise feels off, because the demands of every exercise are going to be different. So at least one set. When it comes to heavier work, you kind of want to ramp up, like on bench or squats or deadlifts, by about 10%, ramping down in volume. So bar by 10, 135 by 8, 185 by 5, 225 by 3, maybe 255 by 1. And then if your working sets are in the 280s or 290s, get at it. If you're a little bit lighter, let's say you're benching 185 as your first working set, bar by 10, maybe 95 by 8, maybe 135 by 4 to 5, maybe 155 to 160 by 1 to 2. Then if I jump over to a secondary exercise like dumbbells, like if I'm jumping to a dumbbell bench or a dumbbell row after a big hitting exercise, usually I do 2 warm-up sets, but I was using 150s for dumbbell bench. So I generally do 50s and 100s just to warm up. Same with dumbbell rows. I want my biceps to be connected with that. So I would do 2 warm-up sets. Blenderly. Hello, sir. I've been introduced to your channel recently. Been a big fan. I sincerely appreciate you joining in. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Post up questions. And if you need any help, you guys can head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. Slide in my DM. I'd be glad to help you out. Rob McLean. Different doctors tell me different. Some say no to lifting at all for pinched nerves. Some say it's okay. I don't know. I'm no doctor, obviously. I'm just a big, hairy, ugly dude. But if our solution, I'm going to speak in general terms here. If our solution to every injury is to sit on our ass, then what are we doing, right? What are we doing? Is that medicine? Right? Medicine should be in some form help you get back to normal. So if somebody tells you, "Oops, you got an injury, sit on your ass," there might be some injuries that there's certainly some injuries where you need to take time away, but I've seen this way too much. So I would try to seek out a sports professional, someone that's a sports doctor, even if I had to pay a couple $100 out of pocket. Just somebody that's more knows my wheelhouse. Paul X. On off days, do you think you recover better if you add some light walking, jogging? Paul, in my experience, and this is just my experience, so take it with a grain of salt. Working out, I always did good 2 days on, 1 day off. The third day, after 2 hard resistance training sessions, I would feel a little bit groggy, tired, sleepy, want to take a nap at work. When I introduced running, that didn't change really. It was odd. I could run and it didn't increase my recovery needs for lifting. But if I ran more than 2 days in a row, I needed to recover from running. Does that make sense? I know it's popular to talk about interference, between those, but my experience is that once you break in general conditioning, they're on like different wavelengths. Like your recovery is going to be specific to that form of exercise. In general, there's definitely going to be some crossover, especially if your nutrition's not nailed. But in general, I feel the recovery is more specific to that exercise. Big Mike McClellan. Why is there a difference in load between deadlifts and rack pulls? In deadlifts, it really depends on the individual, but from what I have seen, most people that are deadlifting, when they move to a rack pull, they tend to be weaker. So there are some different, it might expose some more general weaknesses, backs or your back or quads or whatever, and there's some form issues as well. When it comes to like a deadlift, a deadlift is really a full body exercise. You're using everything and changing the dynamic. I found that some of it was form. Like on a deadlift, if you try to pull a rack pull like a deadlift and have your shoulders over the bar at the same degree, it's going to feel harder. Like on a rack pull, I feel like I have to lean back, like I'm trying to pull back and not up. Like on a deadlift, I pull up. I try to drive my head up. On a rack pull, I try to drive my head back because it's a different leverage part, a different leverage curve, if you will, plus different weaknesses. And for whatever reason, the weaknesses are there, and they're going to be different for everybody. Getting your deadlift strong from 3 to 4 inches off the ground, or getting your rack pull strong from 3 to 4 inches off the ground is only going to help your floor deadlift. That's why I've always been a big fan of alternating both every other week. Which is better? Both. Neither. Rep ranges don't matter. Or sets. Sorry, sets. I almost did what I did last week and mess up. Last week I messed up nucleus overload training and blood flow restriction or whatever, whatever. So which is better, 8 to 12 sets? Neither are better. Better is adjusting your sets based on needs. So if you want to start at 8 to 9 per body part, and then add in per exercise based on how you're recovering or how they feel, do that. Do it on an exercise by exercise basis, and don't try to apply general rules to lifting like I have to do 8 sets for every body part. No, no, no. That can be a starting point, but we want to adjust based on how the muscle group is recovering and how the exercise is treating us. So Menno Henselman had on his post today, basically a good wheelhouse for body parts, major body parts, 10 to 20 sets, right? That's a big range. Why is it a big range? Well, first off, we need to understand what's important is how hard we work and not the amount of sets. So really the amount of sets is going to depend on the individual, their conditioning, their level, what exercises they're using, their experience level. But start at a reasonable amount of sets per week. A full body will start at like 9 for major body parts. And then from there, as you progress to upper lowers or body part splits, you can add in more volume per body part or per exercise. And that's the way you want to do it. Big John Johnson. I'm supposed to be working. I got to go. Stay here. You can always get another job. That's the way the economy is right now. Danielle, how's it going, Danielle? Can you deadlift improve while cutting? If you're relatively weak, and don't take that as an insult, but if you've built up a lot of strength already, it's harder to maintain as you cut. If you're still working on building up a lot of strength, it can be easier to build while you're cutting. Justin P just slid into my DM. Let me just pull that up real quick, Justin P, and see what we got here. Hold on, folks. Hold on. We're checking Justin P on the gram. Boy, I'm hungry today. What's my problem? Justin P. There we go. I'm on an upper lower. All right, there you go. Whoa, that didn't work. I'm on upper lower 4-day split. How can you experiment with adding more bench into the split? I was thinking about adding at the beginning of a lower day. What I typically do is for my clients, we have 2 upper body days on an upper lower split. So upper A will start with a bench variation, and upper B, you'll do your overhead press, military press, and then you'll do another bench variation. So there is room in that upper for 2 chesticle exercises at least, depending on your time in gym. So there's room basically for up to 4 bench variations, excluding close grips. You can toss close grips into the tricepticon pile. So there is room for more. I have some programs, Justin P, that I put my clients on and guys on Team Massive, and I'd encourage you to check out Team Massive. It's a one-time investment, but you can kind of those guys would share how I train them on bench. But just know in general, you got plenty of room on an upper lower, at least four exercises, 4 places for chesticles. And I just had Olympic grade lurker is my client, and I just looked at your DM. I'll send you a shirt, Olympic grade, and or if you don't want one, I'll send one to your son. Nicholas, can I stay with the same program for a year? Yep. There's no urgent need. When it comes to programming, don't think as much about how often do I need to switch programs. Think more about evolving programs based on needs. I don't like barbell rows, or barbell rows are getting boring. I want to flip-flop them every other week with dumbbell rows. That's fine. Training evolution is more important because at the end of the day, in case you missed the memo, nearly every workout has, the same exercises. You're going to be doing the same exercises. Workout 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you want to change programs, you're basically just changing programs to the same exercises. All right, guys, before we continue, we are an hour into Massive Iron Live. I'll stay on as long as you guys have questions. I appreciate your support. Post up your questions. Don't wait till live is over and post them at the last minute. Get them in now. Before I continue, a quick commercial. If I missed your questions, head over to Instagram, head over to Instagram, head over to Instagram, head over to Instagram, and slide into my DM. Let me just roll that down at the bottom. And I will get to your questions this weekend. Head over to superlivingtoday.com, click the coaching tab, sign up for coaching, and it's only $80 a month. I'm with you every single day. Check out Team Massive over there. Check out the workout tab and get you a Massive Iron t-shirt. I believe they're only $13.99. Boy, I'm hungry today. What's my problem? Blue Knight. Starting a cut, best way to make veggies taste better without adding oil. What I typically do, Blue Knight, is I find the things I like. Like, don't think of veggies as like broccoli and cauliflower and crap. All right? Take rice, for example. One thing you can do with spinach is you can dice it up and it'll wilt down to nothing. So you can toss it in rice. It wilts down to nothing. All of a sudden, you have a little bit more nutrient value in your rice. So let's use the rice example. Move beyond broccoli. Move beyond cauliflower. Move beyond carrots, right? All those boring veggies. Onion, green pepper, jalapeno pepper, all kinds of peppers, mushrooms. You can toss in there cherry tomatoes. I like baby bok choy. It's pretty neutral and it's got a good nutrient profile. You can dice that up and toss it in with your rice. No bad taste at all, right? No bad taste at all. To add more nutrients into your diet, one thing you can do is get a frozen bag of berries from Walmart or Kroger or whatever your grocery store is. Get some plain Greek yogurt and toss those frozen berries into the Greek yogurt, and you all of a sudden have blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and you got a lot of nutrients. So when it comes to veggies, don't focus on the veggies we don't like to eat, right? What are the things you like to eat? I like mushrooms, right? I like onions. I like tomatoes. I like peppers. I like green peppers. What would you put on your pizza? Dice those suckers up, toss it in your rice, you're good to go. Andy 1000, a little bit late, but had to finish my last workout of the week. Good way to end the week. JD, Joseph Davis, thank you, Joseph, for the $5. I appreciate it. Total is $16.50 at 2:33. But doing 3-mile runs 2 times a week is building fatigue. Any running tips for muscular individuals? I would probably say, Joseph, that number one, you need to give it some time. Your body will acclimate. And I'm speaking in general terms because I don't know your history and I don't know how much you've been running and I don't know how long you've been running. What I would probably do, number one, don't run for speed. Run a conversational pace, slow and steady. Number two, don't run before big training days, squats or deadlifts. Maybe run after training where you can sync that cycle up a little bit better. If it is building fatigue, that's generally a sign that you need some form of cardio because, the amount of cardio you're doing, the fact that it's building fatigue, it's not a lot. Let's just put it that way. And that's not a criticism, but it's a sign you need it and that you need to allow your body to condition a little bit to keep going. I would, though, find the best place in your programming to put it so you can be ready for your next workout. And that let's say you're doing bench at 4:00 in the afternoon on Monday, right? Everybody benches on Monday. I would run maybe Monday morning. That gives you the full day to eat, recover, be ready to go for benching. And then, you lift, maybe you do back on Tuesday or deadlifts on Tuesday or whatever. I would space it out away from squats and deadlifts. I would maybe do it at a time where you get more recovery time. Let's say you lift Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Maybe run after your workout on Friday, and then you have all weekend to recover. It really comes down to syncing that up with your training to find the best place to place it in so you allow for more recovery. Danielle, thoughts on the average lifter's obsession with abs? I don't know. People like to look lean and mean. I mean, it's pretty cool. You see somebody on screen, a celebrity with abs, and like we were watching the show Arrow, Green Arrow. We watched one episode this week on vacation. Dude shredded. I'm impressed, right? But abs without muscle, what's the point? You're going to have to basically look like a skeleton. You're going to look ridiculous. So I don't know. People are obsessed with a lot of things. And, there are worse things to be obsessed with. But in all reality, abs without muscle is absolutely pointless. And Yari, I meant what's better, 8 to 12 reps. There is no better. I mean, in reality, if you're training over the course of 5 years and you're pushing steps for AMRAPs, you're going to take care of itself. There is no better. Don't worry about stuff like that. Set a rep range that works for you on an exercise and evolve it based on needs. There is no better. Better is progressing over time. Do you still exercise after a night of bad sleep? Most of the time. That's kind of in the sit-vu zone, suck it the bleep up. If you had a real bad night of sleep, and you can only do a limited workout, I'd rather see you do a limited workout, a couple sets per exercise. But hey, there are times when you really get an awful night's sleep and you're just like, done. That's okay. Troy asks, I like to do extra trap work on off days. Would power shrugs be advisable? They are perfectly fine as long as you have probably 48 hours recovery time before deadlifts. Then you could do them whenever you want. Raphael, I have been tracking calories, lost 2 pounds in a week. I'm having a hard time eating protein and keeping carbs low. Well, Raphael, part of the cutting diet, way it is something's going to be hard. Under eating or eating lower calories is not going to be easy. So, what types, you got to make sure your protein are mostly, real protein sources, not protein bars, protein shakes. Protein shakes are okay. You don't really want bars with extra carbs. You want to make sure you're eating your meat, you're eating some plant-based options. Carbs, what are you eating for your carb sources? How is it difficult for you to lower carbs? Is it you feel like crap? Well, if you feel like crap, it's a case of suck it up, buttercup, right? You're just going to have to suck it up because that's the way a cut goes. If you're having a logistical hard time lowering carbs because they're in other foods you're eating, then you might have to readjust the foods you're eating. I would have to know a little bit more. Olympic grade lurker. Can you briefly touch the weight on the floor in each rep for a heavy dumbbell row? Absolutely. One of the I've taken a lot of criticism over the years for setting down rows, but dumbbell rows and barbell rows and pendley rows, they'll beat up your lower back. And relieving that lower back stress for a split second is a wise thing to do, especially as you get strong. So ignore the voices on the internet that panic when you set down your dumbbell rows. Absolutely. I like to set it down, brace, and rip. Set it down, brace, and rip. I feel better that way. Neo, thanks for the donation, Neo. I appreciate it. What movies or TV shows are you watching lately? Me and my wife are big movie watchers. And what did we watch? We watched a movie called Off Season 2 nights ago when we got back from our trip. A little bit of an indie type of horror movie. It was pretty entertaining. It wasn't the best movie we've ever watched, but when you watch a movie and you find, oops, it's over, and you didn't stop to want to check your phone 10 times, We watched Off Season, and then we watched a movie last night. I can't recall what the name was. I'm trying to think if there's anything we've watched lately that we've really, really liked. There have been Neo. I would have to check. I would have to check my. Hold on. Let me just check my Amazon video real quick and annoy you guys. For 1 minute. Hang tough. I got about 10 questions left in the queue, so this is a good time for you guys to post up your questions. If not, I'll be jumping ship. So post your questions up now. I'm pulling up my stuff and I'm pulling up purchases. And where you at? Oh, purchases. I clicked on following. Tethered. We watched Tethered last night. It was kind of an odd movie about a blind boy. We watched The Cursed, which was pretty good. The Cursed was actually very good. I liked The Cursed a lot. I would highly recommend that movie. That was basically, almost it was about gypsies and landowners, and it was a period piece, and the weird creatures and almost werewolfy, but it was really, really good, really well done. I watched Spider-Man: No Way Home. I'm looking at my Amazon here purchases. Spider-Man: No Way Home. I didn't really care for it. We watched The Kingsman, the newest, and that just sucked. I didn't care for Aquaman. We watched House of Gucci. House of Gucci was good, a little bit long. We watched Ghostbusters. A little bit flat for me. A little bit flat. The Last Duel was okay. And beyond that, we get into some stuff we saw. Old, M. Night Shyamalan, or whatever his name is, didn't really care for that movie at all. And yeah, that's what I've been watching lately. So what do we got here? All right, post up your questions now, guys. What do we have? Pre-workout recommendations. Pre-workout as in supplements, I'm assuming. I like Chris Jones Pump and Grind. People assume because I worked at Tiger Fitness that I would get it for free, but nothing could be further from the truth. They're pretty tight. That's not a criticism, but just the way it is. It's not like I had supplements, everywhere. So I would use Pump and Grind because I really liked it. I don't know what it was about the formula. I just felt like I had good, clean energy and it wasn't super stimmy. So I would check that out. That was my favorite. Mickey Chan, 90% of my protein intake is from milk products and eggs, meat, and only 10%. Any concern? No, that's perfect. Don't fall into the propaganda that meat is bad for you. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Here's what we need to understand from a bigger worldview, okay? 90% of the foods we eat are controlled by 10 companies. Like PepsiCo, I believe they own Taco Bell, KFC, A&W. They own Frito-Lay, Fritos, Cheetos, Doritos, and they own Pepsi. And now they're getting in the vegan food market. What's the point here? These big companies that produce 90% of the food we eat, they make huge profits on selling junk carbs and crap ingredients. Big profits. Okay? They're a big, giant powerhouse when it comes to money. There's not a lot of money in meat. There's not a lot of money in eggs. Just straight meat and eggs. So there is a lot of propaganda out there about the unhealthiness of meat and eggs, and it's bullshit. Excuse my honesty. A lot of these junk associational studies from Harvard are nonsense. Do some research. This is the healthy stuff you should be eating. You should be eating plant-based foods and animal-based foods and as many single ingredient foods as you can. A little bit of nuts, a little bit of dairy, a little bit of stuff like that, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of Greek yogurt, a little bit of cheese, not a lot. That's what you want to eat. It's everything else, like anything that's owned by these 10 big companies. like Taco Bell or Frito-Lay or all this other crap. That's the stuff you want to avoid. It's just stuff with crap ingredients, junk carbs, seed oils, flour, all kinds of ingredients. That's the stuff you want to avoid. Eat your meat, eat your eggs, eat your seafood, eat your plant-based foods. That's where you want to be. A little bit of dairy, a little bit of nuts. You're good to go. Yari, thanks for your answer. You're welcome. Richard Murray. Whoops. Join Team Massive, folks. It's the best investment you'll make. Thank you. I appreciate it. Nicholas. All right. We got some Chris Rock going on here. Wow. This happened while we were in our hotel room in Miami. My wife was watching that stuff while I was messaging clients. And I didn't get to see it live. But there's so much going on. They're both sides of the story, both sides of the aisle. It's very interesting. Like you look in the, back in the old days, if somebody said something inappropriate about somebody's wife, comedy or not, you might want to expect to get slapped. It's just the way it is or was, for better or worse. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. Then on the other hand, you do that sort of stuff on the big stage, on the big screen. And, I don't know. It's a crazy situation. Part of me thinks it was set up because not a lot of people watch that stuff to begin with. And part of me just thinks, Will Smith was a little bit loony. I don't know, but, there's a lot of ways to look at it. But I do know that if someone makes a joke about your wife and your wife's having a hard time with a medical condition, and she might not be sharing that publicly, say your wife's having a hard time with a medical condition and somebody makes fun of it, there might be a lot of internal things. I don't know. That can be a lot for a woman to go through. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but it could be a lot for a woman to go through. But then again, Chris Rock is a comedian. So I don't know. I see both sides of it. What do you guys think? Stein, great live as well. Thank you, Stein. You have a great weekend. Nicholas, how do you avoid getting overwhelming stress with all the conflicting information about health and fitness? Know that 95% of it is nonsense. It's not complicated. It's not. It's not complicated at all. In lifting, you have a lot of people trying to give you complicated ideas and concepts when none of it's needed. And none of it's usually even appropriate for where you're at. It's very, very simple. And you guys need to understand it's simple. Lifting, be consistent, nail your nutrition, track your workouts, track your calories, use progressive overload, use a good exercise selection, get a lot stronger than you are now. Very, very simple. Is it hard to implement? Yeah. There are more to it than that. You want to be pushing some sets to max safe reps, and things like that. But it's not complicated. Food. Eat animal stuff, eat plant-based stuff. Try to eat as much of that as you can, and you're in a good place. Eat a little bit of dairy if it's okay with you. Eat a little bit of nuts if it's okay with you. That's all you need in life. It's super simple. It's super simple. And anybody that's selling you complication has never really coached, has never really trained anybody. They're just a mouth on the internet, talking about principles when they haven't really worked in the real world. And they're not needed. Bob V, tips on improving balance on calf raises. Bob, I'd be curious what kind of calf raises you do. I would start with seated calf raises and do those tempo, like 2 to 3 seconds up, hold at the top, and then 2 to 3 seconds down. That'll be good for your soleus. You want to get time under tension on calf raises, so slow them down a little bit. All I can say is really just work on slowing your calf raises down a little bit. That'll help with growth, time under tension, etc. Beep boop. Have you had clients that don't have a lot of differences in calories when cutting bulking? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had female clients that are over 45, 50 that are very sedentary, and they don't move a lot and they don't get a lot of steps. And it would take them 1,200 calories to lose weight slowly. Then again, you're also dealing with the possibility that people tend to be like, I'm taking 3 pretzels, I'm taking a bite of a bagel, just a bite of the pizza, just a sip of the latte, and then before you know it, they have 300 or 400 calories that they didn't write. So you have that aspect as well. And then men, yeah, absolutely. I've had some very, very large men that needed to lose weight at 1,800 calories because they were super inactive. Like if you have somebody that's overweight and they're super inactive, like under 3,000 steps a day, doesn't go to the gym, doesn't do anything extra, you're going to have to drop those calories low because they're a train wreck of inactivity. Raphael, I think that this one wrap I got had too many carbs. We eat rice and I just give up on the wrap for now. If you're buying anything, prepackaged, that's probably something you want to consider reducing. Top 3 glute workouts. I'm not really a glute workout guy. I'm more of a well-rounded guy. For lifts, I have RDLs in the equation. I have lunges, I have deadlifts, I have squats, I have leg presses, hack squats, leverage squats, Bulgarian split squats. I don't really have a favorite. I just kind of use them all. I will say squats alone aren't generally the best for glutes, so it's good to have a wider exercise choice. Blue Knight. I always prioritize range of motion on all exercises to get more out of less weight. It's good to do on appropriate exercises. But yes, things can go wrong with that mentality. When you start cherry picking exercises that have extra range of motion over ones that still have a reasonable range of motion and are still with a big progression window. What do I mean? If you do a seated curl, you're leaning back. An incline curl, you have a greater range of motion, a stretch. So that's generally a good exercise to include or to consider, right? But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do others. If you only do those at the expense of others, it's probably not the best for hypertrophy. Josh, favorite handgun and long gun? I don't really have a favorite. I would say that even though I am a gun owner, I'm not a gun enthusiast. So it's a little bit out of my league. Mara Jedi, mate, that was the best food advice I've ever heard, and you nailed it in 30 seconds. Thank you, and I appreciate it. Paul X, do you think stim-free pre-workout is worth it for us nighttime lifters? There are some good ingredients. I mean, when the supplement engineer was on the channel, there are some ingredients that can be good for pumps and focus. I might look for something that maybe has some nootropics that can kind of increase your focus without being stim heavy, if that makes sense. ZR78, can't lose the love handles, need to lose more weight. Forget that body fat percentage, ZR, and I'm telling you that simply because I know you're not focused. I'm sure you're not focused on it. But, you're going to have to get pretty lean. Most of us are going to have to get leaner than we think to lose all the belly fat and the love handles. So my main advice is you're going to have to go deeper. You're going to have to go deeper. You're going to have to go deeper. That's where men store their weight at, their love handles, their back, their belly, and to get all that to go away, you're going to have to dry up the river. You're going to have to take it a lot deeper than you think. Bob V, I forgot to mention it was free weight dumbbell standing. I've done those before. Just try to slow them down, Bob. Get control, get good time under tension. All right, guys, I got one question left. We're about an hour and 30 minutes in. Get your last call for questions. I'm going to be jumping ship if I don't get any more. So get them in now. Here we go. Will Smith's wife posted a lot of stuff about her hair issue, even joking about it herself. She was just a difficult person to get along with. Ask Will. a lot of frustration as slap action. I did not hear that, but it's interesting to hear that side of the story. All right, guys, we are out of here. Thank you for joining in Massive Iron Live. Please, please come back next Friday, every Friday. Forget work. No one wants to work. Come back every Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern. Head over to Instagram. Follow me at Ben the Barman, Head over to my website, superliving.today.com. Sign up for coaching today. Sign up for Team Massive today, right now. Right now. Do it now. Don't regret it. And we are out of here. If I can get